Big news, which indicates we could be moving back to the gold and silver standard. We know all synthetic money eventually fails, and I've got some startling examples of that we'll talk about later in this video. Also, big warning, Brown Friday around the corner. Do you know what Brown Friday is? Well, you're going to learn. We're going to save that for the end of the video. The biggest gold deposit in the world, we're going to talk about that as well. It is startling to realize what they're talking about when it comes to this massive gold deposit, and big news this week that will move the markets. We'll cover that as well. All man-made synthetic money eventually fails. Are we moving back to a gold and silver standard? Look, my opinion, and I think many of you share this with me, is that eventually gold and silver prevail. We've got a couple big developments. One of the biggest states in the United States of America, a state that alone on its own could be a major world country economy, a growing state, and they're doing proposing some crazy things with silver and gold, asset-backed currencies. We'll talk about that, but first I want to say thank you. It's Sunday morning. Thank you for being here. We got a lot to cover again. A lot going on. It's going to be interesting tonight to see what happens in the gold and silver markets after last week's epic run in the gold price. We are only 4% away with gold from an all-time high measured in US dollars. And don't forget, right, the gold price hit new all-time highs last week. Here, let's run out and take a look, and then we're going to get into the gold standard. But we got to take a look quickly for those of you who missed this. Last week, this is the gold price in euros is now at an all-time high. That means our friends in Europe are spending more to buy an ounce of gold than any other time in history. This is a big deal, but it's not just in the euro that gold is at all-time highs, because if we go talk to our friends in Great Britain, there's gold XAU in Great British pounds. We are also, if you look over here at the right side of that chart, at all-time highs in gold in Great British pounds. And doesn't it make sense, guys? Because gold and silver always win in the end. Now, let's talk about this prospect, this speculation that we might be going back to the gold and silver standard. Let's talk about Judy Shelton really quickly. I'm going to pull this up. Great video on Arcadia Economics. Dave Morgan, and this woman here on the left is Judy Shelton. I think it's Dr. Judy Shelton. I stand corrected. Donald Trump tried to put her on the Fed board of governors during his last presidency, and then because of a bunch of political mumbo jumbo that happened at the end, she didn't get put on. She is a big proponent of gold and silver. She is a big proponent of real money. You need to read about this lady, and if Trump decides to put her on the Fed again, we could see her leading the Fed. We could see what one thing she's proposing, one of the minor things she's proposing, is a U.S. Treasury bond that would be denominated in gold, like a 30 or 50-year U.S. Treasury bond backed 100% by gold, that gold that supposedly we have in Fort Knox. But it's not just there, because, guys, Texas is doing some crazy, crazy proposals with gold and silver. Let's go out to the 10th Amendment Center and get some data on what's happening there. You know what? Boy, I forget. I'm sorry. I apologize to you. I forgot the most important part. Thank you for being here. You're important. You're smart. You're giving us your time. You're coming together. Hopefully you feel very welcome here in the basement. We've got one big thing. You're with your brothers and sisters when you're here in the basement. Basement dwellers, right? You're part of the tribe. So please subscribe. And thumbs up are always appreciated. Super chat, super thanks, PayPal donations, never ever expected. Please never donate any money to our channel that you can't afford, but always appreciated. And so thank you. That's the big part. Really, this is about you. This is about our community. The 10th Amendment Center, Mike Mahari put out this excellent piece of work. There it is right there, Mike Mahari. Texas bills would establish 100% backed gold and silver transactional currency. Guys, this is huge. Texas is big. Texas is growing. Texas is innovative. A lot of people are moving from California to Texas, cities like Austin, Dallas, right? I mean, Texas is a big deal, and they're talking about a 100% backed, gold and silver transactional currency in yellow. The two bills filed in the Texas House would create 100% gold and silver backed transactional currency that would serve as legal tender in the state. This would create a foundation for the people to determine the Federal Reserve's monopoly on money. The Federal Reserve. This is a nightmare for Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve. In green, under the proposed law, the Texas Comptroller would issue gold and silver specie, same thing as coins, through the Texas Bullion Depository. Texas has their own state-run gold and silver depository, guys. They are innovative. They are the leaders. They are growing for a reason, and they are moving towards gold and silver. At least this proposed legislation has them moving in that direction, and also establish gold and silver transactional currency defined as, quote, the representation of gold and silver specie and bullion held in the pooled depository account. This is the critical thing in yellow. The depository would be required to hold enough gold and silver. We got to include our best friend silver to back 100% of the issued currency, a 100% backed gold and silver currency. This is called the gold standard. This is called the silver standard, guys. Holders of the gold and silver specie and currency would be able to use them as legal tender and payment of debt in the state of Texas. The gold and silver backed currency would be electronically transferable to another person. In orange, gold and silver backed currency would be redeemable in specie or at the spot price of gold in US dollars minus applicable fees. So you could redeem this currency for physical metal, or, okay, that's the important part because it is backed 100% by real gold and silver. Or if you prefer unicorn fart dust, if you want to convert it to this, I don't know who would, but whatever. Hold on. Let me pull you up. Thank you, guys. Wow, 400 people. If you want to convert it to this, you could do that as well. Or I know you and me, we would want to convert it to this, right? Real money, gold and silver. This is exciting. This is not what I just showed you. This is different. That, my friends, is a silver certificate, right? That was redeemable in silver to the bearer on demand, right? These don't exist anymore. That's what they're talking about going back to. This is a big deal. And the reason why we need to be so excited about this, number one, it's a move back to real money where people don't have paper money that constantly depreciates in value. It creates a fair level playing field, right? For working men and women. Look, I was a worker. I was a steel worker. I was part of Local 110 Steel Workers when I was in college. I went every day and worked during the summer in a steel plant making steel cans. I know what it's like to work, okay? And when you work, right, and you make these suckers, right, Federal Reserve notes that are guaranteed at minimum to go down by 2% every year, it's not fair. It's not fair, okay? So let's get back to the article. Sorry. You didn't want to hear about my personal history. I apologize. Oh, wrong screen. Make sure we're still live here. Hopefully we didn't lose you guys. Hello. If somebody could shoot a 5x5, that would be great. Thank you. In blue, in practice, the passage of these bills would allow any person to conduct business transactions using gold or silver. This is the great part. Impact, the red. This is all. Then we're done with this. We got a lot more to talk about. Okay, the passage of this legislation would create sound money alternative to the U.S. dollars in both physical and electronic form. Using gold and silver-backed transactional currency, any person or entity would be able to do business using a debit card that seamlessly converts gold and silver to fiat dollars in the background. Private individuals and businesses would be able to purchase goods and services using assets held in the Texas Gold Depository. I love Texas. Everything's bigger in Texas in the same way that they use dollars held in a bank account today. Essentially, guys, you would have if you're in Texas, and hopefully this will be coming to a state near you, maybe the one where your feet are planted right now, you could have a debit card that allows you to spend gold and silver, but do it in a seamless manner. Gold and silver backed transactional currency would give people a way to shield themselves from the rapid loss. I like that, lapid loss. From the lapid loss, rapid loss of purchasing power inherent in the fiat dollar. Over time, making gold and silver available for regular daily transactions for people like you and me, basement dwellers, by the general public, could have a wide-ranging impact. Professor William Green is an expert on constitutional tender and said in a paper for the Mises Institute that if people in multiple states actually start using gold and silver instead of Federal Reserve notes, it would effectively nullify the Federal Reserve and the end of the federal government's monopoly on money. Okay, the United States Constitution, Article 10 says no state shall make anything but gold and silver coin, tender, and payment of debts. The creation of transactional gold and silver currency would take another step towards the constitutional requirement ignored for decades in every state. Such a tactic would undermine the monopoly of the Federal Reserve System by introducing competition to the monetary system. Okay, here, God, we got a couple things to talk about here. They didn't say monopoly money. Let me show you. Let me give you an example. Okay, sorry, I'm not prepared, but I want to show you this. This is not what they're talking about. They're not talking about this. See, that's monopoly money. Look at all that monopoly money. This is monopoly money. Okay. So we put these two. How much of a difference is there between this and this? I beg you that question. Okay. That's in one hand. This is in the other. Where is she? There she is. Look at her shine. Okay. Right. These two are more close. It's like a fifth grade science quiz. These two are much more common to each other than this one. There's a big difference between this and this. So when they say the monopoly on money, right, what they're talking about is the Federal Reserve's ability, right, to do this. Okay, that's here, right? Toilet paper money, print as much as they want. This guy does not like Texas. He is not a big fan of Texas right now, okay? By the way, my prediction is he will resign within the next 3 months. I could be wrong. He knows what's coming. That's just speculation on my part that Jerome Powell will be gone from the Federal Reserve, and we could have Judy Shelton. Remember her? Let's go back to this. Let's think about what Texas is doing, and let's go to this video posted by Arcadia Economics and our good friend Chris Marcus, right, with David Morgan talking to Dr. Judy Shelton, who was a hair away from being put on the Federal Reserve Board by President Trump during his previous term and will likely be put on there again. And you need to read about her. And she has a new book out all about, I forget what it's called, Good as Gold or something like that. Guys, we are moving in a good direction. The reason why we want to talk about this, right? Texas, right? And what Texas is talking about is an asset-backed digital, an ABDC, an asset-backed digital currency. We're talking about electronic forms of gold and silver that managed by the state comptroller of Texas. Okay. And I trust people from Texas. I'm sorry, I do. And I don't trust a lot of people. Okay. That is 100% backed by physical metal. Now, why should you care about that? You need to really care about that. Number one, it brings back fairness to the economic system. But number two, guys, it could be a windfall for people that hold physical silver and gold. Because, the dollar, this is a Ponzi. I'm sorry. Okay. This is a Ponzi. And when this falls apart, if and when this falls apart, right, real things, all right, and some people think Bitcoin, that's all the rage now again, crypto. I don't. Okay, I'm not anti-Bitcoin, but, I'm not a political channel and not an anti-Bitcoin channel. However, I believe this wins. This. Look at that. Look at that. Right? That wins at the end of the day. Mic drop, end of story. Now, then what the heck? Speaking of crypto, speaking of synthetic man-made stuff, here, let's go out real quickly and look at this. John Exter's pyramid. This guy worked for the United States Federal Reserve. He just died 25, 30 years ago, maybe even more recently. This is what we're talking about right now, okay? Gold and silver. He worked for the New York Fed, John Exter, spent his career talking about the fact that gold and silver are the best. This is called Exter's pyramid. It's an upside-down pyramid that shows that everything eventually rests on a point of gold and silver. But we know everything above that is synthetic, man-made, okay? The crypto people would say that it's that is down here. I would argue that crypto is also man-made. And in my opinion, over thousands of years, any man-made form of currency has failed, okay? I'm not making any predictions about crypto or anything like that, but guys, the money eventually comes down here. When the Ponzi, right, the base money, the bank money, the government bonds, all that, okay, when it all comes down, when there's a full and total accounting of what's going on, when people realize that this is a big problemo over here, right? Oh my gosh. And for those of you who weren't on with us last night, we got massive breaking news, because we've been following this number closely in the lower right or middle low, whatever part of your screen. Interest on debt in the United States, according to the U.S. debt clock, has now officially surpassed $1 trillion. Congratulations, Washington, D.C., right? Here's federal tax revenue. Look at that. Our government brings in $5 trillion a year. We now spend $1 trillion of that $5 trillion on interest alone. Let me remind you, you get nothing for interest. Nothing. That means 20 cents out of every dollar that you pay in taxes to your government gets spent just to maintain the debt, to pay interest on the debt. Of course, the interest feeds into the U.S. federal budget deficit, which makes the national debt bigger, which in turn makes the interest rate bigger, which is the definition of a debt spiral, a Ponzi scheme. Eventually, the Fed will be printing money. There's the dollar to silver ratio. Continues to go up, 1,022. A few days ago, we looked at this. Then we'll be done with the U.S. debt clock. U.S. M2 money supply. Right? And that's what the dollar to silver ratio measures. How, for each 1 ounce of silver mined this year throughout the world, how many US dollars are being printed? And it stands right now, like we just saw it, 1,020. But that's the M2 money supply, which is like bank accounts, money market accounts, a few other things. It's like the liquid money in the economy. Look at this. If we look here, the year 2000, it was less than 5 trillion. Right? Now it's 21 trillion. So it's gone up, 4 times in the last 25 years? Paper. This is paper. Unicorn fart dust, electronic, whatever you want to call it. It's a big, big joke. Now we talk about the fact, right, that, here we go. Texas. This made me mad. Let's go back to Texas quickly with the gold standard, gold silver backed currency they're talking about. So as soon as they come out with that, guess what happens? Texas gold-backed coins, what we just talked about, aims to help Bitcoin adoption, a lawmaker says. I'm like, what? You know what? What the Texas lawmaker believes the state's proposed gold-backed digital currency could play a key role in boosting cryptocurrency adoption. No, I'm sorry. I don't agree with that, right? They're like trying to hijack, the crypto people are trying to hijack the gold and silver backed currency proposed legislation in Texas. And why is there always, anyway, Cody Harris, a Republican Party member of the state of Texas House of Reps, addressed the development of a gold-backed token in Texas at the North American Blockchain Summit. So here, this is maddening. In a fireside chat with Coinbase, David DeYoung, Coinbase is one of the big crypto exchanges. Harris argued that a state-issued gold-backed token could serve as a gateway for Texans to explore digital assets like Bitcoin. No, I'm sorry, a stepping stone to Bitcoin. So they talk about what we just talked about in green. We won't repeat that. Under the plan, each unit of the digital currency would represent a fraction of a troy ounce of gold held in trust. Harris said the initiative could help skeptics become more comfortable with crypto by offering the government-issued digital alternative before transitioning to decentralized assets like Bitcoin. I mean, come on, man. There's a big difference between crypto and physical gold and silver. For those who are reluctant to enter into owning Bitcoin or exploring crypto, a state-issued coin would give them somewhat of a comfort level compared to tokens issued by startups. The state-issued digital currency backed by gold is something safe. Okay, he does say that. That people can get their feet wet with. It's more of a stepping stone to owning Bitcoin than competing with or taking the place of something like that. Then they talk about the CBDCs and why we need to be afraid of CBDCs. Yeah, no, my opinion, asset-backed digital currencies like Texas is proposing, 100% backed by physical, regulated, audited by the state comptroller, are one of the best things that could happen for us as silver and gold investors, because it would level the playing field of money and it would create massive new sources of demand for silver and gold. And this is what happens. What do you think happens? Think about this. What happens when you mix money with things that are man-made? Or I said that wrong. Hold on a second. This is what happens when you mix money with technology. Remember when the printing press first came along? Then they realized that they could print these things into infinity, right? Okay, what happens when now it's digital? What happens? Let's just look at a couple quick examples, okay? Here's a great example, and this is really a sad story. So if you're not in the mood to hear something sad, as Coin Shop Chris would always say, you can go watch Roadrunner cartoons or something like that. But look at this CNBC headline, okay? I have no money. Imagine if this is you. I have no money. Thousands of Americans see their savings vanish in the Synapse fintech crisis. Okay. I'll tell you what happened real quickly here, but this is fintech, right? Mixing finance. That's where the word fintech comes from. You're mixing finance with technology. Okay. You're not mixing silver and gold with technology. No, you're mixing finance and technology. And these are examples of what can happen because thousands of Americans will receive little or nothing from savings accounts that were locked during the collapse of fintech middleman Synapse. Customers believed the accounts were backed by the full faith and credit of the U.S. government. CNBC spoke to dozens of customers caught in the predicament, people who have lost sums ranging from $7,000 to well over $200,000. While there's not yet a full tally of those left shortchanged, at FinTech Yada alone, 14,000 customers say they're being offered a combined $11.8 million, despite putting $65 million into deposits. Listen to this story. This is what happens. This is what happens when you mix technology with money. Okay. Right? Whether it's when the printing press was the hot new technology, or now the computers are the hot new technology, whatever the case may be. This is sad. So, take a deep breath. We can feel for this person, this family, and what happened. For 15 years, former Texas school teacher Kayla Morris put every dollar she could save into a home for her growing family. When she and her husband sold the house last year, they stowed away the proceeds, $280,000, in what they thought of as a safe place, in an account at the savings startup Yada, right? This is a fintech company, okay, held at a real bank. Morris, like thousands of other customers, was snared in the collapse of behind-the-scenes fintech startup called Synapse and has been locked out of her account. This is crazy when we get to the end of this, for 6 months. She held out hope that her money was still secure. Then she learned how much Evolve Bank and Trust, the lender where her funds were supposed to be held, was prepared to return to her. in yellow, last paragraph here. We were informed last Monday that Evolve was only going to pay us $500 out of that $280,000, Morris said during a court hearing last week. Her voice was wavering. It's just devastating. And here's what happened, just this last little red paragraph here. The crisis started in May when a dispute between Synapse and Evolve Bank over customer balances boiled over, and the fintech middleman turned off access to key system used to process transactions. Synapse helped fintech startups like Yada and Juno, which are not banks, offer checking accounts and debit cards by hooking them up with small lenders like Evolve. So these people thought their money was safe. These people thought that their money was FDIC insured. You know what FDIC is? FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, which only has enough money to cover like half of 1% or something like that. Don't quote me on that. But anyway, we know, right? The banking system in this country is screwed up. These people thought their money was safe. Let me show them, right? And I'm very sorry. That's a very sad story. This is safe. Okay? This is safe. This is paper. Okay? Electronic money, not safe. Now, right? Okay, so don't forget about this, right? When that money starts, look over there. When that money starts coming down that food chain down to gold and silver, guys, it takes like 1% of this to make the price of gold and silver go up 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 times. I'm sorry. Mining stocks even crazier. So if you think, hold on. Okay. If you think that the price, the value, not the price, right? The value of this, I'm sorry, I apologize. I called it price. The value of this, ounces, right? We measure it in ounces, is going to improve in the coming months, quarters, and years and decades. I'd encourage you to please help support our channel sponsor, Pimbex. We'll go out here and get an update on the silver and gold price. Here we are at the Pimbex website, Pimbex. I get continuous emails from you guys, overwhelmingly positive response about your experiences with Pimbex. Thank you, because that helps me feel good about what I'm talking to you about, because I know from my experience that Pimbex has ultra competitive pricing, great selection, and it's a company that I have 100% trust in. Okay, I'm not telling you what to do. Do your own due diligence, make your own financial decisions, all that great stuff. I can just tell you what my experience has been. And this happened before they sponsored the basement. That's a fact. You can audit me if you like, okay? And after they've sponsored the channel, I've continued to have great experiences. But what's most important is that you guys are having great experiences. So thank you, Pimbex, for sponsoring Ron's Basement. And of course, one of the funnest things about this is this little gold thing here, the Pimbex magic button, because you press that and you get an update on the gold and silver price, which funny, it hasn't changed. Maybe that's because the markets aren't open. Guys, gold, $2,717. Silver sitting, it's knocking on $31.50 per ounce. I think we're in for quite some fun, okay? Let me just remind you of one more quick thing about electronic money and crypto and man-made money, because remember, as we talk about this, gold and silver are the solid base of all this other man-made synthetic stuff. Here's a great little story. Here we go. Okay, that was a fintech startup. Remember this clown? Huh? Yeah, he's a clown. I'll call him a clown. Sometimes you guys call me a clown. That's fine. This guy's a clown and a crook. Sam Bankman-Fried. Remember him? FTX. They had like ads during the Super Bowl. You know, this was the smartest guy in the room. His parents were like, I think, connected to the Clintons and all kinds of stuff. All right. Remember him? Sam Bankman-Fried co-founded FTX, a crypto exchange, and quickly built it into the world's second most popular place to trade digital currency. It collapsed almost as quickly. By the fall of 2022, it was bankrupt, okay? They charged him with misappropriating billions of dollars in customer deposits. They said he used the money to prop up his hedge fund, buy real estate, and attempt to influence cryptocurrency regulations by making campaign contributions, excuse me, Hold on, let's have a cup of coffee. The U.S. politicians and to pay $150 million in bribes. Oh my gosh, the Chinese government officials. I'm not saying anything, okay? I'm not anti. I know people love their cryptos. That's great, but we can't deny that 2 years ago, 3 years ago, this was one of your saviors, okay? All right. To me, again, we'll go back to this, and I believe unequivocally. I forgot. Did I forget to put that on there? I'm sorry. We were looking at the thing the whole time. This guy. Sorry about that, guys. That's the clown, Sam Bankman-Fried. Okay. I'm sorry. And a crook on top of that. Okay. He's as bad as Bernie Madoff or any of these other people. And what I made you stare at the whole time is again, right? That's it. Up here. I believe it is up here. Cryptocurrencies. I think this stuff down here is made by God, made by the universe, whatever you believe. Not a political channel, not a religious channel. And I forget what else I'm not. But I believe this stuff is made by God, by universe, whatever you want to call it. This is all make-believe, unicorn fart dust, electronic paper, derivatives, whatever you want to call it. That's great. Okay. Now, there's one more guy I want to remind you of. Is it a Ponzi? Hold on here. Let's go back and let's go to this. Okay. Markets and Mayhem says, okay, we are a giant Ponzi scheme explained in terms that most people would have trouble appreciating. And I understand it's mind-numbing. They've made our financial system so crazy complicated, and they did it on purpose, guys, because they're sticking it to us. Okay. It's a giant Ponzi. Thus, instead of fearing a complete equity wipeout, they are more inclined to buy, believing that this is a superior way to gain crypto exposure. This guy, look, I've never met him. I say this about very few people. This is Michael Saylor. He's a big Bitcoin crypto. He's the CEO of MicroStrategy, which is a tech company which now just basically buys Bitcoin, borrows money in the bond market and buys Bitcoin. I've never met the man, so I can't say this 100%, but I can tell you 99%, he gives me the creeps, okay? And one thing I've learned over the years is that if somebody gives me the creeps, I'm better off trusting my gut and staying away from them. And he gives me the creeps. Maybe if he comes down here in the basement and meets me in person, I'd feel differently, but he gives me the creeps. And we're talking about a Ponzi. That's the world we're living in right now. It's unbelievable. Okay. And then on top of that, oh, shoot. Hold on. Oh, on top of that, final point, just to say how crazy. Remember, here, got to pick up the right one. This, and in my opinion, crypto, okay, are over here. Right? These are all these make-believe, make funny money, electronic, whatever you want to call it. I know there's a lot of people that love both gold and silver and crypto. That's great for you. Okay, you're entitled to your opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion. And you, as the viewer, are entitled to your opinion. You don't believe me. Don't believe Michael Saylor. Don't believe yourself. Okay, but I believe over here, you got Federal Reserve notes. Right? I got the right one. Monopoly money, and then you can't see it, but I've got some cryptos over here too. Over here is upside down. Hold on. Real money. And what if I told you, this is maddening to me. There's a thing, last thing on this, Dogecoin, DOGE coin. It was a crypto that was made up as a joke. Look it up. It was a joke. The guy that invented it. It was a joke, guys, that right now, right, or as of a couple days ago, I haven't checked, but the Dogecoin, it's called, has a market cap that's like, I don't know, $58 billion or something, more than twice the amount that it would take to buy every ounce of silver. You could buy every ounce of silver that's going to be produced this year in the world 2 times over. Are you freaking kidding me? Sorry. And I didn't really cuss, but I don't like that word either. Are you kidding me? Dogecoin, right? The market cap, you could buy every ounce of silver produced in the world this year with the market cap of Dogecoin. But no, there's more. You can't just buy it once, folks. No, you can buy it twice. If I own Dogecoin, I think wouldn't you think it'd be a great time to convert some of your Dojis into silvers? Especially with this unbelievable gold to silver ratio we have right now. What is going on, folks? Okay. How can we even remotely justify that it takes 87, 84, whatever it is, ounces of silver to get 1 ounce of gold? That's crazy too. Silver is the most undervalued asset in the history of the world. Let's talk about the biggest, then we're going to talk about Brown Friday. You're going to learn something very interesting and funny. But Friday after they had it all wrong. It's not Black Friday, it's Brown Friday. Maybe it'll be gold and silver Friday, but we'll talk about Brown Friday. But first, let's talk about this. I thought was astounding. The biggest gold deposit in the world. This is the largest. This comes from the Indian Deference Review. Thought it was from somebody else. Hold on a second. Oh, yeah, the IDR. Okay. This is the largest gold deposit in the world, and it's accessible to everyone, including you and me. Wait till you see these stats. According to NASA, there's approximately 20 million tons of gold dissolved in seawater. That's crazy. Okay, but there's something else that I think is just mind-numbing. This staggering amount eclipses all the gold humanity has ever mined throughout history, which amounts to a mere 200,000 tons. So all throughout history, if you add up all the gold that has ever been mined in the world, it's 200,000 tons. This blew me away. To put this into perspective, if we were to melt all the gold that was ever extracted, thank you, Dan W., and I'm going to come back to that. Thank you, Susie. Let me start over in gold. To put this into perspective, basement dwellers, if we took all the gold that had ever been mined in the history of the world, okay, and melted it down, it would form a cube measuring only 22 meters on each side. Okay, so today's Sunday. You might watch some football. Hold on here. Yeah. Well, there you are. I think we're still live. Okay. Today's Sunday. You might watch some football. While you're watching football, I want you to look at 20 yards on a football. That's about what they say, 22 meters, right? Hold on. Let me make sure I got this right. I don't want to get myself in trouble here. Yeah. 22 meters, which is a little more than 20 yards, right? But just think of 20 yards on that football field. And then think of 20 yards the other way, a square, 20 yards, and then go 20 yards up. Okay, that's a cube. That's all the gold that has ever been mined. Oh my gosh, I forgot to put me on screen. Sorry, guys. Let me do that again. Think of this shirt, gold. That's all the gold that's ever been mined in the history of the world. To me, that's mind-numbing. Now, we're going to talk about the moment you've been waiting for, Brown Friday. I do want to say thank you to channel sponsor First Mining Gold, Canadian gold developer. Do you want gold in the ground? Maybe you like to own gold. That's great. Okay. If you want to own stock in a company that has gold in the ground in Canada, I'm never giving financial advice here, but you may want to investigate First Mining Gold. They have 2 multi-million ounce development stage projects in Canada, the Duke Parquet project in Quebec and the Springpole project in Ontario. And I want to say thank you to Fortuna Mining. They are an active mining company, silver and gold in Latin America, and an expanding gold mining operation in West Africa. I'll put links to those companies in the description of this video. Oh, and then we got to talk about the Fed one more time. Big news week this week, but we're going to talk about Brown Friday, and then we're going to talk about the Fed. You guys remind me if I get screwed up. There's a lot to remember. Join me for a quick sip of coffee. That was a little more than a sip. Oh, I want to say thank you. We got some super chats here. Jay Lizard, my friend, super sticker. Thank you, Jay Lizard. Thank you for that. And Dan, hey Dan, how you doing? I like to show Ron how much I appreciate his show and silver news and updates. Thanks, Dan and Susie, and thanks for mentioning the crew, right? The moderators. And thanks everybody for being here. Thank you, Dan. Thank you to the moderators. Jake from Jake's Custom Parts, Big Tim the Silvershire, and there's only one, there's only Annie Oakley. And of course, my lovely wife and assistant, Suzanne, or maybe I should say my boss, Suzanne. Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that. You guys ready for something funny? Brown Friday. I'd never heard of this, and but it makes sense. The most clogged, it's Thanksgiving coming up. Be careful what you put down your drains, okay? Because the most clogged U.S. cities, this is my question. Do you live in one of the most clogged cities? The most clogged U.S. cities revealed ahead of Brown Friday. And wait till you hear why they call it Brown Friday. We'll come back to that. And then we'll see if your state's on there. Plumbers in the United States are preparing for Brown Friday, the busiest day of the year for their profession, and one analysis suggests Los Angeles is likely to be the most clogged city. The country's plumbers refer to the day after Thanksgiving. Don't worry, we're getting back to gold and silver here soon, guys. As Brown Friday, as it is consistently the busiest day of the year, averaging 50% more calls than an average Friday. So is your state, do you need to be careful this Thanksgiving? One of the states that is the highest clog rate in the United States, my state or my city, St. Louis, is on here. You can look at this map and see Miami's bad, Nashville, Sacramento, and Baltimore, Maryland round out the top 5. Number 20 is St. Louis, Missouri. Just be careful what you put down the drain. Look, I'm not a plumber, but I will give some plumbing advice, okay? It is a pain. It's expensive to get a drain fixed. Be careful what you put down. No grease, no celery, anything like that. I'm going to give you a quick tip, and it's funny because I've kept this sitting next to me. I've talked about this before on the show, but a plumber 20 years ago told me about this product, Thrift, okay? Look it up. Do your research, okay? If you ever have a drain that's going slow, I happen to live with 2 or 3 beautiful women that have hair that gets clogged up in the shower. Once the drain slows down, read the directions, use that product, and you'll thank me. And numerous plumbers, it used to be you could only get it at plumbing supply houses. They've told me that's like the only thing they use to get rid of clogged drains. Okay. Thrift. I'll put a link to it in the description of this video. Okay. Now, where was I? Okay. Brown Friday. Now, so this week, big news. It's going to be a shortened week. It's Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, basement dwellers. But we're also going to get major news that could have major impact on the silver and gold price. Like, this is like, again, they all, we're going to act like we're CNBC or Yahoo Finance, the biggest news in the history of the financial universe. On Wednesday, we're going to get the PCE numbers. Let's just look at this quickly. That is the Fed's, and the reason why this is a big deal is because this is the Fed's preferred inflation gauge. Okay, we hear that over and over. That's why this is a huge deal. Hello, Fishy. Hold on there. Make sure I got you guys on the right screen, which I do. Okay. Fed's preferred inflation gauge highlights holiday shortened trading week. What to know this week. So we could see major movements in the silver and gold price after this number comes out on Wednesday. Be prepared. Now, where is it down here? In the week ahead, fresh reading on the Fed's preferred inflation gauge, the personal consumption expenditures will highlight the economic calendar, blah, blah, blah. We're not going to spend. I'm going to tell you what's really going on. Here's what's really going on. On Wednesday, we're going to get some BS inflation number, okay? The experts think that it might tick up a little bit. We're living in fantasy island when it comes to economic numbers, but it will have a little impact on the price of gold and silver. But I'm going to give you the good news, the reason why we really don't have to worry about it when I wrap this point up. But here's what the mainstream is going to say. If the inflation number goes up, and they are expecting it to go up a little bit, right? Well, that means the Fed can't lower rates. That means blah, blah, blah. That means this, guys. That means, let's go out here to the CME FedWatch tool, because we're at about 50-50 right now. Come on, CME FedWatch tool. Why do you keep doing this? And there it is. Okay. Hold on here, guys. Hopefully you're still with me. Okay, here we go. All right. All right. Here we are. So this is not as complicated as it looks, guys. This shows the odds of a rate cut right here for December. Let me here. You know what? I'll draw this quickly for you for December 18th Fed meeting, which we know is like what, 30 days away, something like that. Here is the current rate. Okay. The current rate that the Fed has set is 4.5 to 4.75. This tells us, and this is the same number down here, there's almost a 48% chance that they're going to leave rates alone, not change them at all. And we have a 53% chance, right, that they're going to lower, because here we're at 4.5 on the low end. Down here, we're at 4.25. Those are called basis points if you want to be. They try to complicate everything. 425 basis points. That this would essentially take the lower end from 450 down to 425, which is the same as 4.5 or 4.25. This would be a 25 point, 25, a quarter point or 25 basis point decrease. When we get this big news on Wednesday, that will change that number, okay? Because everybody's watching it and everybody knows the Fed watches that number, and that could have a short term. Don't worry, there's a happy, you like happy endings? Okay, there's a happy ending to this story. It could have a short term impact on the silver and gold price. It could be, and don't look, let's say we get clobbered on Wednesday. Don't let it ruin your Thanksgiving. Don't you love seeing all that family? Yep, we're going over this anyway. Maybe we're having, I don't know what's going on. We're having it here. Don't let it ruin your Thanksgiving, okay? Because it's all turned into a smoke and mirrors. The Fed used to have, like, my kids play these video games and they have like a health meter, like between 100 and 0. The Fed is losing their power, their potency, okay? They still have a good amount of power and potency, but the world is changing. And at the end of the day, even if we get a super high inflation number, guys, inflation, I have such a hard time, and I apologize to you putting this into words, but inflation is reasserting itself, becoming more powerful, this is a good way to say it, becoming more powerful than the Fed, okay? And I got a little secret for you. The Fed lies, okay? The Fed lies. We know that. The Fed's going to tell you, oh yeah, we want to keep inflation down, and that's our goal, right? They only want to steal 2%. The reality is they need inflation. The only way the system keeps going. And we're at this paradigm shift or major sea change right now, where as we move into 2025, and President Donald Trump wants inflation. President Donald Trump wants a weaker dollar. All right. Inflation is going to become a big front page item again. And number two, it's going to lose its ability to temporarily knock down the gold and silver price. Inflation, guys, is nothing more than this, okay, becoming worth less. That's a Federal Reserve note. Unfortunately, we love our country, right? Here, look, I've got a self-waving American flag. You know how expensive those things are? Very expensive. Look it up. Get a self-waving flag. Anyway, we don't like it, right? We didn't cause it, but it's the reality of what's going on. And as these go down, as more and more and more and more and more of these need to be created, poof, out of thin air, eventually, and it's like a growing momentum, it's like a snowball, it will create a massive supportive environment for the precious metals. Look, 4 years ago, if inflation was up, right, that was bad because that meant the Fed was going to have to raise rates. Well, the Fed's lost their magic. The Wizard of Oz has been exposed. Thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate you. Okay, you are the most important part. Please, if you could, subscribe to the channel. Most of you are, but I want you to know that you're important to Susie and I, and we know that your time's valuable. And the number one thing that we love about doing this really is the community. And you're a part of that when you're here in the basement. So thank you. Enjoy your Sunday. Okay. And I'll see you soon. Thank you. That's all I can say. Thank you. See you later. Bye-bye. Have a good day.